Do you think that the debate around trans rights has changed enough, the way that people are treated?
I think it's getting worse and worse, to tell you the truth. I have one friend who has moved to France and doesn't want to come back here, and I certainly don't speak for all trans people, but I'm planning to leave. I don't want to be in this country.
You're planning to leave the country?
I'm planning to leave, yes. I feel increasingly unwelcome and unsafe here. You know, we keep being told over and over again that it's of the utmost importance that we've got to keep having this debate about whether or not people like me should be respected, you know, whether I'm a real woman. No, you're not, because you can't have children, ha-ha. And we're told that this is absolutely essential to our democracy and our civilization. And I've just kind of come to the view, well, if that's what everybody's considering, like we just have to be unpleasant to trans people, then I'll just go to a country that hasn't completely lost its mind on this issue and isn't in the grip of a moral panic and obsession with people like me.
Does anyone want to respond, Inaya?
You know, I think that's, you know, absolutely devastating to hear, and I'm really
well, it's
sorry.
the truth. I'm not saying it for attention.
I 100% believe you. I mean, what I would say, though, is that, for example, before, effectively, the gender self-identification law was forwarded and pushed, no one, I don't think, actually mentioned the issue of the trans debate. I think Stonewall and other organisations took a policy of no debate and said that, for example, anyone could self-declare as a woman and therefore have access to women's spaces, rights and protections. And
so I've got to jump in, because it's not true. It's not true.
Can I just finish the point?
No, because I've got to shut down. That is not true. I'm sorry, but
let Kemi finish the point and I'll let you come back, Paris.
People who are not trans get to spread this misinformation every day in the media, every newspaper article. It is simply not true. When I transitioned over 10 years ago, I just walked into the female toilet and self-identified. So there is no change in policy. No, there isn't a change in policy.
We need to have one at a time, otherwise we can't hear either of you.
That's always been the de facto policy, so there hasn't been a change in policy.
Kemi, make your point.
If I was able to finish, then you'd understand that that's not what I said.
I
said gender self-identification, the Gender Recognition Act, is a proposed law, something that's already going through in Scotland. That is a fact. And that is what has caused the disagreement between feminists and other people who say that self-declaration merely allows people to be able to have access to women's space.
We already have self-declaration.
No, there is no.
What do you think happens when I go to a gender identity clinic and I say I feel that I'm female? I am declaring that I'm a female, and then a doctor may agree with me, and the passport office may agree with me, but I have declared who I am, and it's not because
are you saying
it's
there's
not
no
because
proposed
activists
changes
started.
in the Gender Recognition Act? The proposed change would get rid of the requirement for gender dysphoria.
They've had it in Ireland. They've had it in Scotland, and the sky hasn't fallen in. There was a letter signed by Irish feminists saying we've had this.
Are you agreeing that there is a proposed change in law?
Which law? No, I want to understand your perspective. Which law and which policy in particular do you feel is concerning people? What law changed? Tell me.
The Gender Recognition Act.
Because there's no laws around.
I'm sorry to rush you both, but we've got a lot to get through here, so please, one at a time. Briefly, Kemi, and then I do want to move on to another element, please.
It is the Gender Recognition Act, who currently, under the current system, people that want to transition have to have a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. The proposed change would get rid of that requirement and allow mere self-declaration that is already happening in Scotland. And I think the idea that it's only trans people who are the subject to abuse and vilification in this debate is just not true.
Is there any evidence it's caused problems in Scotland?
That's not the point. People in a democracy have a right to put forward their objections and that be argued out in the public sphere in an open way. And, well, I mean, many people...
What evidence is there that it's causing problems?
Can I please show you something that has been... This issue has been discussed during the Conservative leadership race. I just want you to have a look at what some of the candidates have been saying about it. We can show you these clips now.
We need to get rid of all of this woke rubbish and actually get back to a country where describing a man and a woman in terms of biology does not mean that you're going to lose your job.
I'm a woman. I am biologically a woman. And I can tell you, Chris, that if you have been in the Royal Navy and you have competed physically against men, you understand the biological difference between men and women.
I will not be spending most of my time on these kind of issues. I think we owe everybody love and respect. People should be able to get on and live their lives. There's clearly a biological basis upon your birth. But when people want to transition gender, that is their choice, and they'll always have the support from me.
Grant Shapps, who obviously isn't standing anymore but was in the initial stages. Jake, what do you make of how this is being discussed within the context of the Conservative leadership contest?
I find the whole debate thoroughly depressing, actually, because, you know, we have to understand that this is a subject which requires deep sensitivity, and we are talking about people, not, you know, there isn't several types of people. We're talking about human beings, mothers, daughters, sons, brothers, sisters. And my only real experience of this, it is not an area in which I'm an expert, is a trans constituent of mine came to see me and he said, would you please stop talking about this from the extremes? The extreme of anti-trans, the extreme of trans activists. Because he said, all that happens to me is it makes my life impossible to live. And I think that moderate voice that says, actually, this isn't really an area in which the government should be active. It should be allowing, I believe in a smaller state, I believe we should allow people to be what they want to be, and it shouldn't be an area in which the government is stoking division. And I think actually quite a lot of the debate we're having is stoking division. I think that's deeply unfortunate.
Do you think some of your colleagues in this current
people must stand by
by
what they say for themselves. I would really agree with what Grant Shapps says, that actually people need to be respected, they need to be free to make their own choice, and I just don't think it's an area in which the government should be seeking to control
public policy
lives.
questions here that do need to be resolved?
Of course there are, but we need to really dial this debate down and have it in an understanding and sensitive way. There are difficult issues for society to grapple with and work out how we sort of all live together as human beings. But I just think it needs to be dialed down and people need to be treated with respect. It's not an area in which I'm an expert.
Helena, can I let Helena?
I think it's disgraceful that it's being ramped up in this way. I did the first trans case in 1996 in the International Court of Justice, and it was about discrimination against trans people in employment, and it was accepted that the discrimination was at such a level that something had to be done about it, and many employment rights came through. Sometimes international eyes being set on this and issues like this. And all I can tell you is that I have acted for quite a number of trans women. I haven't known any of them who have posed a threat to anybody at all. And so this business that somehow they're going to be predating on women if they're in prisons or if it's just not. Those are risk management issues. And I really do feel that this is about discrimination, and it's being grabbed by the far right of the hard right of the Conservative Party, turning it into an issue.
I'm sorry to hurry you. I'm sorry to hurry you.
The gender critical feminists, Rosie Duffield, for example, in the Labour Party, is hardly, you know, the far right of the Conservative Party.
Well, if they're being unpleasant to trans people, they're being unpleasant to trans people.
Woke all the time.
Hang on a minute.
I'm so sorry. Very briefly, we have a guest waiting on a different subject, so very briefly, please, Paris.
But the problem is that I've been told my entire life that my existence is a problem for other people, and I am so sick of only ever discussing. We are not talking about the violence and the discrimination that trans people face, because we're talking about all the potential problems that including people like me in society may or could cause. So that's why
I'm sorry, no, we have
that's why I feel so upset.
Waiting.